And do you think then that Senator John Thune, he emerges a winner here because he offered this weeks ago and he got some more
Yep.
Democrats to flip here?
Yep, absolutely. And I'll note one other thing unrelated to the shutdown. Well, related, but not directly. Remember last week Donald Trump said it's time to get rid of the legislative filibuster and just make it all 50 votes on everything. And John Thune said no, which is a very rare time that Republicans in Congress have stood up to Donald Trump. He comes out of it, I think, looking pretty good. Again, Democrats caved. We can argue whether that's a good thing or a bad thing politically. I think it's probably a bad thing in the near term, but a fine thing in the long term. We can argue whether it's a good thing or a bad thing from a policy perspective. I think it's a good thing because people are going to get paid. But Democrats caved, which means Republicans held the line, which accrues to John Thune's benefit, especially within his own conference. Because they say, okay, this was one of his first major tests. Remember, he took over from Mitch McConnell, right? This is one of his first big tests as Senate Republican leader, and I think he passed.
And do you think Mitch McConnell would have done the same thing that John Thune did, or do you think he would have made any different moves?
It's a good question. I think similar. Look, John Thune probably won't tout this, but he was a Mitch McConnell acolyte. He was somebody who kind of came up through the McConnell pipeline. McConnell was once very popular among Republicans, much less so now because Donald Trump has turned on him. But I think it would have been similar. I think McConnell would have, because ultimately the thing is the side who causes the shutdown, which is the Democrats getting the 60 votes, always caves at some level. They just do. In every shutdown it happens. And it's just, how do you frame that caving? So I don't think McConnell would have given in, but I do think it accrues to John Thune's benefit that he kind of showed some spine and held out. Again, especially among Republicans and among Republican senators.
And I'm curious what you think the long-lasting implications are for here, aside from Chuck Schumer, because it seems like, he's the person who's bearing the brunt of this. Do you think that Democrats will look, I know that the headline is Democrats caved. Do you think that they'll look like the weaker party? Do you think voters will really hold this against them? Or do you think it depends on what happens with that healthcare vote?
Yeah, I think the healthcare vote matters a lot. I think government shutdowns don't really touch people. It's a big issue if you live where I live in Northern Virginia, because so many people are employed by the federal government. I don't think it's a big issue outside of that. Healthcare is a giant issue. If healthcare premiums go way, way up on the marketplace and Congress does nothing, I think people know Republicans control Congress and control the White House. It would be a huge problem. So to me, how that vote gets framed matters more coming into 2026.
And what are you looking out for then between now and then? Because it doesn't seem like it's a matter of if, but when the government reopens.
Yes. How does the after action report, how is the coverage in these next couple days? Is it about the divide within the Democratic Party? Is it about why did they do this and how Democrats are going to try to primary all these Democratic senators who voted for it? Or is it about, Democrats got some concessions, they got what they wanted, Trump's less popular, Mike Johnson's less popular. And then I think the next big story is, when is the healthcare vote? And what does it look like? And how do Republicans finesse it? Because that is going to be a much bigger problem for Republicans than this shutdown was.
Well, certainly a lot to look